Hello, so it's Louisa Church here from Collective Motion Dance. So I just wanted to hop on to give you this week's creative task. So, for those of you that have been to my lessons have seen these pictures quite a few times. So we're going to explore the idea of spirals. So circles that start small and get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So if you think of a snail shell, it's that kind of pattern. So pick a body part, so I might use my finger to start with, and you draw a teeny tiny circle. And then it gets bigger, 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 and then it gets bigger. Okay, can you do that with a different body part? So I might decide to do it with my nose. So a small circle that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then I might reverse it, so go big to small. So big, let's get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and then stops. Okay, so your task is to explore spirals with different body parts. So pick a body part. So I'm going to do my foot, but you might decide to do your elbow or your knee or your hips if you're feeling that way. Just go with whatever works for today. So start small and then gets bigger and then gets bigger and then gets bigger. So as it gets bigger, you could include more body parts. Okay, so that's task number 1. So explore spirals. The next one is the idea of being blown by the wind. Okay, so the sense of impulse. So something else is controlling your body. So if I imagine that I'm on a cliff at the seaside and it's really, really windy, sometimes when the wind is behind me, it feels like I'm being pushed. Okay, so it's that idea of imagining that some force is pushing you from behind. So make sure that you've got space to do this. So standing, imagining that there's wind and it's just pushing you to travel. So you can play with this idea of wind getting you to travel in different directions, or it might even travel backwards. Okay, so explore with wind making you travel, and then you can explore with wind making body parts move. So you might imagine that wind is pushing your arm, and then the wind goes away again. It might push both of your arms. So the idea is that you've got something really quite forceful, and then it just floats away again. So I might have it pushing my leg, it might push my hips, entirely up to you. So spend a few minutes exploring the idea of wind pushing your body around. So you could even make it quite fancy if you wanted to and add in a turn. Okay, so that's job number 2. So we've done spirals and impulse or wind. Folding. So it's all about joints. That's where I was going with the pictures here. So how many different ways can you fold your body? So everyone's bodies will fold in different ways, but how many different ways can you bend your joints and fold into a small shape? Okay, so exploring the idea of folding. So we've done spirals, wind, folding. Got another couple. Bubbles. So we are going to imagine that somebody has blown lots of bubbles, and we need to try and pop those bubbles. So the bubbles are all around us, so you might decide that you want to get one that's behind you, or you might decide that you want to get one that's really low or really far away from you. Okay, so you're exploring popping bubbles to start with your fingers. So we're popping a bubble, we're popping a bubble somewhere else, we're popping a bubble somewhere else, we're popping a bubble somewhere else, we're popping a bubble somewhere else. Okay, so once you've had a play popping bubbles with your fingers, your next job is to try and pop bubbles with different body parts. Okay? So I might pop a bubble with my elbow. I might pop a bubble with my head. Go careful with that one if you try it. I might pop a bubble with my heel. I might pop a bubble with my nose. Okay, so explore popping bubbles, firstly with your fingers and then with different body parts. Okay. Spikes. So really sharp movements. I kind of think of an action man. So you know those really old-fashioned like kids' toys where you push a button in their back and it makes their limbs move? So that's what I'm thinking about with this one. So how many different ways can you perform sharp, choppy, straight movements? So again, it could face lots of different directions, but it needs to be really jerky and sharp, okay? So you've done spirals, wind, bubbles, folding, spikes. Thinking of the idea of pushing and pressing and squeezing. Okay, so how many different ways can you push down? So it's like you're trying to squish a cardboard box, or you've got your feet stuck in mud. So how many different ways can you push down? So again, it could be with different body parts. So I might decide I want to push with my ear, and then I want to push with my hands, and then I want to push with my knee, then I want to push with my elbow, then with my hand. Okay, so you're exploring different ways of pushing down. Firework. So we're going to explore the idea of exploding. So really fast, energetic, elevated movement. So you might decide that your arms want to suddenly explode, or just one arm, or they want to explode to the front or into a big shape. So it could be some kind of throw type shape. You could decide that you want your entire body to explode, okay, and explore different elevations or jumps. So if you're seated, you could push to lift up slightly out of your chair as well. Any kind of upwards sudden movement. So you can explore lots of different types of explosive movements. Okay? So you've got lots to keep you occupied there. If you wanted to turn this into a game, much like I do in my lessons, you could draw pictures for all of these different types of dance moves and then place them around the space. So depending on how big your room is, so I might decide that from one corner, I'd like to start imagining I'm blown by the wind. Then when I get to the middle, I might explode like a firework. And then at the end, I might decide that I want to fold down into a small shape. So you're building up this picture score, like a musical score, of a dance to help you to structure your piece. So I'm blown by the wind, then I explode, then I fold down as low as my body will allow. Okay, and then you can position the cards in a different order to make different dances. Okay, so lots and lots of ideas for this week. Okay, keep safe everyone, see you soon.